Hi there, and welcome to ASMR Lindy, and the first video in my series of quick histories of the races of Azeroth. Starting with the Horde's most iconic race, the Orcs, I will go through the origins and their race's path to their current position within the world at large. The reason behind the low tone of my voice and whispering that you will hear is to help you wind down before sleep, or perhaps relax and induce a state of ASMR. What is ASMR? ASMR, or Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, is that little tingle on your scalp or down your back that you get when you see or hear something pleasant. And hopefully, with this lore series, you can relax and learn at the same time. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. As with many of the races of the universe, the creation of the Orcs starts with the Titans. Specifically, Agramar. Agramar belonged to the Titan pantheon, which stands as one of the universe's higher powers. Agramar, in his travels, came across Draenor in its primordial state, and found a lush planet controlled by a hive mind of plants and spores, known as the Evergrowth. He surveyed the lands and knew that they would be doomed to never foster further intelligent life in its current state. Agramar decided to intervene, but worried that his own power, applied directly, would sunder the planet completely, so instead he created Grond, a stone giant imbued with the power to fight back against the infestation currently holding the planet. From the ensuing battles between Grond and the Evergrowth, pieces of the giant fell away to create beings called the Colossals, while spirits of life imbued the planet as they fell from the Evergrowth's spore mounds. Over time, with all their efforts exhausted, the giants had fallen, and with them their spawn. From their remains, the Magnaron emerged, and so this cycle continued. With time, the rock-like creatures of the Magnaron were slowly transformed by the spores of the dying plants to become yet smaller races, the Gron, Ogron, and Ogres. These creatures lived in conflict with each other, with each of them fighting for survival against the others. Later yet came the Orcs, smaller yet compared to their rocky predecessors. While being more diminutive, they had the advantage of superior intelligence and a strong sense of community. This bond that the Orcs had, that none of the other races of native Draenor could match, would grow to be one of their greatest strengths in the years to come. The Orcs began their fledgling journey as prey for the larger creatures that came before them for the most part. But with the rise of the Ogre Empire, they found themselves freer to carve their own place in the world. With their newfound freedom, their population exploded, and so food and shelter would become somewhat scarce to a point that infighting would erupt. To avoid an all-out war between brethren, the earliest of the Orc settlers moved across the continent to find somewhere they could make their own. The Orcs who moved out of the snowy and bitter cold of Frostfire Ridge to the west became the Frostwolves and Whiteclaws, semi-nomadic tribes that lived in harmony with the land and adapted to its climate, while the Thunderlords, who had also travelled to Frostfire, staked their claim in hopes of settling and dominating all others in this new land of opportunity. The Warsong clan travelled southwest to the rolling plains of Nagrand, where they were in constant conflict with the ogres of the Gorean Empire, and while each generation of the Warsong clan fared differently to the last, their lust for battle was never sated in their sporadic wars against the ogres controlling much of the land. This would shape the Warsong into the legendary warriors that they would become named for us later on. The remainder of the Orcs who stayed behind in Gorgrond made up the Blackrock Orcs, a group who thrived in mining the world's resources and smithing them into weapons that could be used alongside their strict tenet of military discipline. The Blackrock Orcs would be one of the clans to become the backbone of the first horde on Draenor that would be led by their chieftain, Blackhand, and later Orgrim Doomhammer. Another clan who stayed in Gorgrond were the Laughing Skulls. These Orcs were considered mad and dangerous by others for their bloodthirsty and depraved behaviours. The Laughing Skulls struggled to uphold their ancestors' traditions or territory due to being caught up in the continued war between the rock-like breakers and the plant-based primals. This led them to defending themselves on a regular basis and slowly caused them to devolve into a more primitive and violent clan that had much less in common with the other tribes. Other clans of varying sizes that found their homes across Draenor included the Burning Blade, the Bladewinds, Red Walkers, Bone Chewers, Dragonmaw, and the Shadowmoon clan. Much like the majority of clans on Draenor, the Shadowmoon spent a lot of their time listening and soul-searching to hear the voices of their ancestors. Clan members would take pilgrimages across the world seeking their knowledge in the hopes of finding a higher purpose. During visits to Nagrand, they would discover the final resting place of Grond, in which the defeated primal spirits had been infused with the earth, wind, fire, and air. The Shadowmoon treated these elements with respect, and over time learned to guide them in harmony with their own spirits. With dedication, they were rewarded with the ability to command the elements, unlike any power the Orcs had seen before, and soon began teaching what they had learned to the other clans. Communing with the spirits and the elements, they helped diffuse conflicts that had arisen generations before and allowed them to be resolved peacefully, although it wouldn't be long before nefarious forces would try their luck at enslaving the Orcish race and using them for their own means. The Burning Legion were a force led by brother of Agramar and fellow Titan Sargeras. The Legion's eternal charge was to rid all life in the universe or to convert them to serve in the demonic armies that they had amassed. One of Sargeras' generals, Kil'jaeden, had discovered Draenor and had started appearing to Ner'zhul, the leader of the Shadowmoon clan. This deceiver decided to appear numerous times in the form of Ner'zhul's ancestors to inform him that the recent blights afflicting the Orcs had been caused by the Draenei people who lived upon the city of Shatrath and the surrounding areas. It wouldn't be long before Ner'zhul would be poisoned against the peaceful race of the Draenei, and would instruct his clan to raid the villages and traders found on the roads in the hopes of being made a hero amongst his people. Soon after this had begun, the shamans amongst his tribe had lost their connection to the elements through their callous and heartless genocide, and believing that the elements had fully turned against them, Kil'jaeden had opened a vacuum of power that could be used to supplant Ner'zhul and his shamans with a suspiciously green-skinned orc by the name of Gul'dan. Gul'dan had already been following Kil'jaeden for the promises of power that came with the Legion. This new orc warlock was tasked by Kil'jaeden with the complete annihilation of the Draenei and the destruction of Shatrath, and once achieved, would be given the power that he sought. With the Shadowmoon falling into line behind Gul'dan and the other tribes looking for spiritual leadership, the first Horde was formed with Black Hand as their puppet war chief, and Gul'dan forming the Shadow Council to establish his warlocks that could utilize the mysterious new power of the Fel. The night before the assault on the city of Shatrath, Gul'dan led the Orc clan leaders that had been united underneath the banner of the Horde to the blood of Manaroth, with the promise that if they drank of the demon's blood, they would harness its power and become unstoppable. What followed next was the utter destruction of the Draenei people and the city of Shatrath. Not long after, Kil'jaeden, with his goal achieved, abandoned the Orcs and left them to burn with the demonic energies that now coursed through their veins. The bloodthirst that the Orcs felt caused constant infighting and fracturing throughout the already tenuous Horde, which left its leaders looking for new conflict and Gul'dan looking for a new world to conquer. Time passed, and months after their victory at Shatrath, Gul'dan came into contact with a human by the name of Medivh. This stranger claimed to be a fellow ally of Kil'jaeden's and servant to the Burning Legion. Medivh promised Gul'dan a power hidden inside the tomb of Sargeras on his own world, and to further entice the other Orcish leaders, made mention of the lush and fertile lands on Azeroth that were ripe for the taking. This began the arduous task of constructing a gateway that would allow the armies of the Orcish clans to travel to their new conquest. The Dark Portal was a monolithic stone structure that was to be powered with the demonic fell magics of Gul'dan's Shadow Council. It was an arch shadowed by towering hooded figures that would stand vigil, and upon completion, scouting parties were sent through that would discover the human kingdom of Stormwind, with the Orcs seeing these humans as small and weak. This, along with their continued demonic bloodlust, caused the Orcs to be reckless as they launched their preemptive strike against the humans. It would be a costly and dangerous mistake for them, as they were pushed back into their homeworld, and the bonds between clans were all but shattered, with each clan leader blaming all others but themselves. Gul'dan, frustrated and unable to act directly, decided to use Black Hand once again as his puppet and exercise his strength to unite the Horde once more under the War Chief. Under Black Hand's direct influence, the Horde's forces were stronger than ever before, more organised and equipped for the oncoming war with the humans. Pushing through the Dark Portal, the Orcs made quick work of any opposition that faced them, and within a matter of years they had almost completely destroyed the Kingdom of Stormwind. This war had elevated a number of Orcs to hero status, and with great warriors such as Ormgrim Doomhammer, Grom Hellscream, and their war chief Blackhand, the Horde marched northwards to claim this new land for their own. But with the warring nature of the Orcs, it wouldn't take long for the relationship between clans to be tested once more. With Gul'dan's wavering loyalty to the Horde being outweighed by his desire for power, he had decided to leave the bulk of the Orcish armies in search of the tomb of Sargeras and the power that he knew it contained. Gul'dan and his Shadow Council's absence was felt greatly, and with a combined human alliance, the Horde soon felt the full force of a counterattack that shattered their resolve and leadership. The Orcs were rounded up into internment camps or hunted down as they fled into the wilderness, and being cut off from their demonic source of power, they were forced into compliance and slavery. And so ended the first Horde, and the opening chapters of the Orcs' story with how they journeyed their way to Azeroth. There is much more to their story that intertwines with many more races of Azeroth, and how the Horde as we know it today would be founded, but I'll leave that for another video. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and if you enjoyed the video, let me know what race you would like to hear about next. Feel free to like and subscribe for more WoW lore content, and please check out the description for more ways to connect with me. Sleep well, and I'll see you next time.